Just wondering. I guess I better go home again. Let's see. No projects here. I would if my wife wouldn't scream at me again when I came in the door. I don't think I'm going home tonight. I'm going to just teach all night. Oh, okay. So I chose 2D, and I'm going to choose create. Yeah, I could have waited all day. That still wouldn't have come back. I think I called it movement or something. This is just a movement on this one. That can happen. Okay, so I'm gonna import my import new asset. So I right click down here, choose import new asset. I'm gonna bring in Bugs Bunny, and then I'm gonna bring in the Pink Panther. So bring both those in, and click import. Oh, yeah, there's a arrow here that expands that. Now this would be if I had a whole slew of items associated with this, you would see something different. These are just basic images. We're gonna see that later on. Drop Pink Panther on here. Drop Bugs Bunny in here. I want Bugs Bunny to chase Pink Panther. That'd be your next step in the, and I'm gonna show you a couple ways to do this, but that'd be your next step in that Pac-Man game. If you have ghosts on there, you want the ghost to chase your Pac-Man character. Okay, so I'm gonna put movement on Pink Panther. So I'm gonna right-click down in the gray area in the assets, choose create and C# script. I'm gonna name it Pink Move. And then I'm going to also right click on here and create C# script, and I'll call this bugs move. First thing, I'm going to go to my pink move. So double click that. I don't think I said it in this class, just so anybody's um, listening that's on the online section or something, but there's no class on Monday, so it won't be any recording. So a professional development day or in-service day, another term for it. So I'll be down in Arc City sitting in meetings. Now up here, I want to control the speed via Unity. So I'm going to have public float speed. And then down here in my update, actually up here, let me also declare vector2 position. And down here, I'll have my standard if input dot get key code dot I like up arrow and down arrow and so forth, but you can program that however you want. So if I do the up arrow, then I say position is equal to this dot transform dot position. So that'll copy that information off from my object that this is associated with and put it into the vector2 called position. Now, since it's going up, I want to increase the y. So position is equal to position.y plus speed. Now, I talked about we eventually get to the point where we incorporate in the delta time. So when you do that, you do your speed times time dot delta time. And what this simple bit of code here does is if you're running this on faster machines, slower machines, and so forth, then the performance, the speed that your character is actually moving will be roughly the same on all those machines. Couldn't tell you exactly how it works, and I never remember it, so I always have to look it up. Time dot delta time. Okay, so then I want to transfer that back. So this dot transform dot position is equal to position. And I want to copy that 3 times, so I can have my movement on all of them. Okay, so this one will be a down arrow, and I'm going to be subtracting for that. Then I'm going to have my right arrow, and we'll have X change. And I'm adding, so that's fine. I'm going to copy this again. So fewer changes to make. And left arrow. We're going to do a subtraction like that. If I start going too fast, tell me to slow down. I've exhausted all my interesting stories, but not that they were that interesting. Uh-huh. Oh, uh-huh. You have, I think you have your insert on your keyboard. You have a button that says insert. If you push that key, yeah. Yeah, it was yesterday I had that happen. Somehow my little fat fingers running around my keyboard hit the insert, and I'm sitting here and I can't delete what I was trying to do. Because it was doing the insert. Yeah, it's a real pain when that comes on. Yeah, because if you don't have that on, the it by default just inserts over. But if you have it on, then it overwrites. So Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess I gotta now take my Pink Panther. I try to run it too fast. Drop the pink movement on it and set my speed. 2. Probably too fast, but let's see. Or way too slow. So I'll say 4. Okay, that's better. Now, what we want is we want our Bugs Bunny to move toward the Pink Panther. So I want to double click Bugs Move. And I'll declare vector 2 up here, position. I probably want speed again. So I got float, public float, speed. Now down here, and again, I'm going to show you multiple ways of doing this. Game object, G. I'll define a game object. Now I'm going to go out there and find the Pink Panther. G is equal to game object dot find game object with tag. You can also search by name, but I'll choose game object with tag. And I'll type player in here. And what else do I need? I think I got that code here. Maybe not. Find game object. Okay. Get component. Okay. So dot. Actually, I think just this. That code's doing something different. So now this will allow me to get the position. So if I have my, oh, by the way, while we're here, since it is looking for the tag that says player, this is a predefined one in Unity. So if you have your Pink Panther set, if you come to your tag, you'll see there's a player. So these are the ones that already got predefined. So I want to choose a Pink Panther. I want to change it to player. So in theory, we're defining a game object called G, and I went out and I found it with the tag player. So at this point in time, it should have made the association between G and the Pink Panther. Well, I want to return the position of the Pink Panther. So I call it pink position. I'll say pink position dot, no, this is a vector 2 already. Pink position is equal to G dot transform dot position. When you've made that association between that the G and that game object, you can access everything and reference that game object. In this case, we're going to pull just the position. Now, keep in mind that our own Bugs Bunny is going to have its own position, and I called it position up here. So I need to retrieve that. So position is equal to this dot transform dot position. So that's going to be Bugs position. The pink position here is going to be the Pink Panther position. Well, I need to check where my Bugs Bunny's position is. So I'm going to say if position dot x is greater than pink position dot x. Graphically, what does that mean? Not above them, but to the left. Yeah, the Pink Panther's to the left of them. So this means Bugs Bunny is to the right. So Bugs is to the right, which means if I want to move Bugs Bunny closer to the Pink Panther, what do I need to do to my X position for Bugs Bunny? Subtract my speed times. Why can I not remember this? Okay, I'm going to choose time dot delta time. Okay. And so that'll move it. That'll take your Bugs Bunny to the left. Now, if it's not to the right of it, then where's Bugs Bunny? It's to the left of the Pink Panther. Yeah. So then position dot x is equal to position dot x plus speed times time delta time. Now that's this is adjusting our x position. We want to have a similar for our y position. So if I say if position dot y is greater than pink position dot y. By the way, if you mess these up, it's not hard. You'll notice when you run it, it doesn't work. It goes the opposite direction, then it's easy to change them. You just come in here, you change this minus to a plus, or change this plus to a minus, whatever's not working. Now, in this case, what I'm envisioning is since bugs, which is the y or the position, is greater, that means bugs is above. Which means I have to reduce my y. So position y is equal to position dot y minus speed times time dot delta time. And if it's not above, it's below. So that's what this else will do. So bugs is below the Pink Panther. So position dot y is equal to position dot y plus speed plus time dot delta time. Now, very last thing I need to do is write that back off to my transform. This dot transform dot position is equal to position. Now, is there any questions on that code right there? Okay, I'm gonna go back up there so you can see. Now make sure it says game object, not objects. Last night I had objects when I was because I test this all out before the day before. I do try it. And I forget. But I took me a while to figure that out because I had an S here. and it gives you the long squiggly. We had an S there. Yeah, I had that last night. It took me a while. So I'm sitting there. There's nothing wrong with that. It is fine game object. I've used it before, and I never even saw the S until a few minutes later. In case you're wondering, find objects would need to be put into an array, and we talked about arrays. So you could bring in an array of objects. But again, you have to have your tag set in order to populate that. Okay, I'm gonna save that. And let's go run this after I associated with Bugs Bunny. So I got Bugs Bunny chose. I dropped Bugs Move on here. My speed of Pink Panther, I think, was 4. So maybe 2 for the speed. Okay, so let me run that. Boy, that's kind of jumping. Now that is strange. Why it does that? So yours runs smooth. I must have something wrong there. Why is it jumping? Okay, let me go look. I'm assuming I have something wrong here. Position.x equals position.x, position.x is position.x, position y, position y, position y, position y, speed times, not plus, times. Yeah, I don't think I'd ever seen it jumping like that before. Okay, now that's better. Shouldn't be jumping around like that. There's they shouldn't. So when you click Pink Panther, your speed says 2 or 4. Hmm. Well, if they're both 0.3, it should be the same speed. That's weird. I think you got some other code wrong there. Um, Compare your Pink Panther to this. Make sure they're all, plus, times, minus, times. Make sure your variables YY, XX, YY all line up. Do you see anything askew? If you want to share your screen, I'll take a look. Okay, so Pink Panther, if that, then position.x equals position.x minus speed
times time delta time, else position dot x equals plus. Okay. Scroll down a little bit. If position y is greater than pink position dot y, then minus speed. Okay. Plus speed. Huh, go run it. I just want to see it. Fascinating. Stop the game and go to your Bugs Bunny and or not your code, but click on the game object. Sorry. Okay, now go to your code and scroll up to where you have speed defined. Speed is a public float there. Now click the tab at the top for pink move.cs. Both declared the same there. That won't matter. There's not much beyond what we just looked at. Oh, there it is. You don't have your delta time in that. Yeah, see where it says position.y equals position.y plus speed? It should be times time dot delta time. Oh yeah, anytime you do movement, you need that factor in there now. I was about ready to give up because I didn't think there was anything else to even consider. Yeah, so that'll go through now. Okay. So we got him chasing now. Well, that's a little bit complex code, not horrible. There's a different way to do it in Unity. And it has to do with this move towards. And I'm going to copy this because I think I can just use this direct. Why can't I copy it? Copy. Okay, so I want to go to Bugs Bunny. And I go find my player, so that's still good. That's my player's position. And I'm going to comment out this code. Which one's comment? Comment out to selected lines. Okay, so
this is going to be my new transform position, which is my position. This is going to be my old position here with it. This is my old position. That's where Bugs Bunny is. And this one should be where Pink Panther is. I think I call it a pink position. So now if we save that, let's see how it changes it. Now you notice that it does the same thing. Maybe even a little smoother, I don't know. I'd even say it's a little bit smoother, wouldn't you? Yeah, so what we did is we replaced all this code here with one line of code. And that's how you move one object to another object. Well, there's a problem with that. Is if I put some kind of barrier in the middle here, doesn't matter what you pick. I'm going to go right click down the gray area here, choose import new asset, and choose something to put in the middle such it'll block it. Choose a mountain. Mountain's too big, but I'll resize it. Drop it in here. Make sure I can grab the corner. There we go. Now we got some tools up here. We really haven't talked very much about these. There's a rotate tool here. If you click this rotate tool, then you come down here. You can rotate it. Like that. Go back to the move tool. You can move this. Now you can click these arrows here to move it up and down and so forth. Or the hand takes us back to that. Where we can then move this back and forth. There's also let's see, rotate. There's a scale. We can change the size of it. Rectangular tool, back to that. Okay. So now we got something blocking it. So let me put on on Bugs Bunny. I'll do an add component. I'll put a rigid body, set the gravity to 0. Collapse these so I have a little bit of room. And then I'll add a collider. I'll add just a box collider. On this mountain, I'm going to add a box collider. So now if I run this, Bugs Bunny gets stuck. And there's games you can play that are like this. Used to be the game called the Gauntlet, one of the original ones, not the 3D version they came out with, but the original 2D one. And that's how you'd play the game: is you come up to an object like that and you go up just enough so just a few of the ghosts would slip through. And when they slipped through, you'd kill them. So you'd fire and kill those ghosts. And then you go up, a few more ghosts slip through, and so forth. Probably nobody's played that 2D Gauntlet, have they? Oh, you do? Yeah. So that's based upon this concept here. There's no intelligence. It just runs into the wall and doesn't know what to do. By the way, I learned how to keep it from rotating. Um, if I go to, it's either on a rigid body or box collider. Rigid body. If you expand a rigid body, go to constraints. You see how there's a freeze position Z? Right. You don't see that? You got a rigid body 2D and you expanded constraints? Oh, okay. Well, there's different ways you can do that. Um, Lots of different programming options. And I'll put this link out here so you can access it. Copy that link. Let's see, copy hyperlink. Oh, that's interesting. I copied it. Control C, Control V. This is actually not bad, but I think it's the older version. But it talks about how to create the Pac-Man game. And this is what I'll have you eventually do. We're going to take a look at these pieces. Today we're looking at movement. Next time we'll look at putting a score on here, even though this doesn't have a score. We'll look at how we've already looked at how to do like opening screens, but we're going to look at the canvas where you put buttons on it to like click here to begin the game and all that. Music, and so forth. But this is all text based. This is what he creates here. Now, this is, like I said, we're going to look at this on pieces, but Unity Pawn game. No, I don't think I ever programmed Pawn. That might be kind of fun. I try to do different games each time. Challenges me because I don't do this ahead of time. If I was working off a script, it would be kind of boring. Or maybe more boring than it is if you don't find the programming exciting. We haven't looked at the animation yet, but we'll take a look at that so you'd understand that while you're going through this. Because you can use this to do that the final project out of this particular unit of Pac-Man. I think on here all he does for the Pac-Man dots is I think he tells you that you duplicate it and position the Pac dot over and over again. So he implies go ahead and put 300, 400 dots on here instead of using arrays, which might be fine. I won't argue that. Trying to get down to their movement. Okay, this is it out here, I think. Okay, ghost movement. And he puts his own code in here. There's actually been papers written on the original AI for Pac-Man. Something like you have one ghost come straight at you, one goes away randomly. They worked at it to make it so it's playable. If you have all the ghosts coming straight at you in every game, then you'll never win. Um, but it's that the variation that makes the Pac-Man game entertaining. Okay, so what he does is he creates an array called transform, or not array, called transform, array of transforms, and it's going to be called waypoints. These are going to load in our different waypoints. And current is equal to 0. Got our speed, public float speed. Again, that makes it so you can update it from Unity. And what we're going to do is you use your array of transforms to go from waypoint to waypoint. And you see we got to move towards. Well, what would that mean? Like the game here. I could put a waypoint here in the middle. So I do a game object, create empty, and a game object. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't have that on, do I? Okay. That's gonna do it via that. Okay, so we have this game object here. Now there's some way to associate a gizmo with this. I'm trying to remember how to do that part. Adding waypoints. Okay. Bin by selecting game object, create empty. We will name it the Blinky waypoint 0. I'm not gonna call it Blinky, but I'll call this waypoint 0. Waypoint doesn't have any special meaning, by the way. Just a place you're going. Okay, and then assign a gizmo to it so we can easily see it. Okay, so up here, choose gizmo. So now we have something that we can see. Now, if you were to run this, you see that isn't actually there. So that's for design purposes. Now, I guess to shut off the gizmos, you can click that if it gets too much. So I can have my Bugs Bunny go into this first waypoint. So instead of pointing it to the Pink Panther, I can point it to waypoint 0. Well, I need to know where I'm at. So that's why he keeps track of the current position. 0 means I'm not to my first waypoint yet. So down here, I can check if current is equal to 0, then I want to head to my first waypoint. Waypoint. So waypoint 0. Now you can keep track of all this, and he keeps track of it in an array. Let me see how to do this. Dot find game object. Find object. I thought there was a way to find by name. I'm obviously forgetting it. That's not it. Okay, well, I'll give it a tag since I know how to do that. Waypoint 0. Now I'm going to comment this out temporarily. So that's going to assign it to waypoint 0. Actually, I don't want to comment that out. I want that there. There you go. Where's my G at? Oh, I destroyed my Pink Panther looking up that Pink Panther, didn't I? Use of unassigned local variable. It doesn't recognize that my code would actually run that if statement all the time because I haven't changed current. Okay, so now it's happy. Okay, so let me go assign the tag, and then I should be able to run it. So I got this. It says untagged. If I do a drop down, choose add tag, go plus, waypoint 0. I'm going to highlight that and do Control C because I want to add a couple more of those. Waypoint 1, and waypoint 2. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my waypoint 0, and I've changed tag on that to waypoint 0. So let's run this. Shouldn't see much of a difference. Bugs Bunny goes to my first waypoint and stops because it's there. Well, let's add another waypoint up here. So we want it somewhere up here. So I'm going to do a game object, create empty. Got my arrows there. Move it up a little bit more, maybe right there. I'm going to call this waypoint 1. and change the tag to waypoint 1. Now, after it reaches my waypoint 0, and I think I can check for a collision on that. If not, I may have to do a trigger. But let me go back to waypoint 0. After it does a collision, then I want to update current. So current will go up to my next one. So let me do an add component, and looks like there is a, oh, well, I can do a box collider. What am I talking about? A box collider. So when it hits that, then I want to update current. So I need something to, when this collides, I want to check to see what it's colliding with and update current. So on Bugs Bunny, come down here before the last curly bracket, and on collision, enter 2D. Now I need to figure out what in the world I just collided with. So game object G is equal to game object dot find, not game object dot find, collision dot game object, little g, big G. I may have trouble accessing the name on that. Let me see if I can name based on this context. Let's see if name gives that to us. G.name. Hopefully that'll print waypoint 0. Okay, so I've got my console. That's what debug.log does. Waypoint 0. Okay, it is named. So I'm going to create a string called object hit. Need uppercase S. I think so. Nope, lowercase s. And I'll say object hit is equal to g.name. Now if object hit is equal to waypoint 0, then current is equal to current plus 1. No, I don't want to do that. Current's going to equal 1. Equals equals, yes, equals equals. Why do you think I wouldn't want current is equal to current plus 1? While it's in the collision, well, that's on inner though, so it might not. But I was afraid that was going to keep incrementing current. And I just really want to point current to 1. At that point, since current's equal to 1, I want to go to the next waypoint. So I'll say if current is equal to 1, then I want to head to the next waypoint. So G is equal to game object dot find game by object, or find game object with tag, waypoint 1. Does that make sense what I'm doing there? Okay. Now we're going to talk about how you could use this however you want within the Pac-Man game. I don't really like the way he describes it at first, but if I run this now, in theory, the Pac-Man or the bug should go toward the first waypoint, hit that, and then it should go to the second waypoint, which is up there, I guess. And I didn't put my gizmo on that, so there's my second waypoint. Again, you can move that to wherever you want to get it to look better. Now I want one more waypoint. So do game object, create empty. Throw gizmo on it. And give it a name. That's going to be called waypoint 2. Choose this, choose waypoint 2 for my tag. Along the same lines, I'm going to come down here and on my collision, I say else if object hit is equal to waypoint 1, then current is going to equal to 2. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of them in here. Object hit is equal to waypoint 2. And current is equal to 3. So when it hits one waypoint, it assigns it to the next waypoint. Now 3 is going to represent my Pink Panther. So up here, clear this code a little bit. Else if current is equal to 2, then G is equal to game object dot find game object with tag. Don't know why I was typing that out. That's a good way to mess it up. Waypoint 2. Else, I want to go to the Pink Panther. Not waypoint, player. You could actually simplify this code and have this into an array, and then depending upon what 0, 1, and 2, you could pull it from that element in the array. But if you're just starting programming, this is a good way just to visually see what it's doing. Okay, so if I run that, hits waypoint 1 there, and goes up, hits waypoint 2, and doesn't go to the rest. That's interesting. Current 2, 3. Well, maybe I didn't save it. Let me try that first. And it could be this waypoint's not up high enough. Because if Bugs Bunny gets stuck on the tip here, that might stop him. Because he no longer rotates. No? he's just not going to my next waypoint. Is that from there should be a straight shot over. Debug.log current. Okay, so I got my console playing there. Comes over, hits that, current 0. But it doesn't recognize the collision up here because it didn't do my debug.log. Ah. No, I did not. That is an important piece. If these don't have collisions on them, it can't have a collision. Jeez. Better go home, I guess. Game over, man. Okay. So why is it stopping there? Let's try that. So then it should go up to there. Shouldn't be anything blocking its path. I see what it's doing. So how do I get around that? Definitely on the Bugs Bunny. If I take off the rigid body, that should work then. There we go. It was colliding with the empty and it wouldn't go through it. The empty was blocking it. And that'll happen when it's a rigid body. Now it's not even doing that. I got my box collider there. Oh, something needs to be a rigid body. Okay, we go to Pink Panther and add on a rigid body. And gravity 0. I don't know why, but collisions cannot happen in Unity unless a rigid body's on something. Now, I think it'll still happen here. Maybe I'm lying. No, I guess I need a rigid body here. So how do you... Rigid body 2D, gravity 0. Unity, rigid, body, collision, rigid boy, rigid body, collision, pass through collider.
Use the rigid body to. The what? Well, I think there's just a setting, like right here. It says I think that needs to be continuous. I won't remember that tomorrow, but Google's still there. But now it's rotating, so gotta stop that. Freeze rotation. Still like still blocked, isn't it? Use the rigid body collision detection property to set the rigid body for continuous collision, which is used to prevent faster from passing through objects without detecting collisions. That's what I'm wanting. Discrete. But I want it to pass through. Rigid bodies enable game objects to act under the control of physics. Okay, blah, 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 blah. So that's not collision detection I want. Well, there's another way to do it. Yeah. Probably won't have time, but there's this is trigger, and that's where you can have it act as a trigger instead of a collision. So okay, let's see the bugs code. Okay, which part? On trigger enter 2D. Mm-hmm. What doesn't exist? Probably means you don't have quotes around it. Oh no. Now what I'm wondering is what I need to do over here. I think take the rigid body off. We'll try that. I think it'll still do a trigger, but we'll see. No, it doesn't do the trigger. That's still not going to help us passing through then. I didn't put it here. That's an issue. Okay, let's try that. Okay. Is trigger, but it's not triggering. Probably because it's triggering this one. Trigger both of them. I don't know. I'm going to stop there because I got to do some reading on trigger, obviously. But I think that allows to pass through it. Now, the code that they have, they create waypoints for like the red one here, coming out there to there to there and there. And they might give some ideas. See, they have that fall on the waypoint. But how do they do the collision? Let's see. Right up above. Maybe they don't even do collision. They just do. Well, they have to know that they're at that position. Oh, they destroy theirs so that it wouldn't be blocking anymore. Ah, so if I destroy the waypoint, I may have this. Okay, so hit that and destroy. Though it's not displaying. That's what's bothering me here. You should at least be doing debug.log. I definitely could put it back in probably in the collision and put the destroy there. Um, well, that's part that I'll have to, well, what are they checking here? Oh, that's destroying Pac-Man. Never mind. I should read. Oh, it's not even checking that. It's checking it through, I guess that makes sense. Uh, I would tell you, but my mind isn't working either, so there'd be no need for me to look at yours. But what they're doing up here is when they move it, then they're checking to see if the position of the Bugs Bunny is the same as the position as the waypoint. If it is, that's when they're increasing cur to 2. So like For example, I'm out of time. They're checking if the position is equal to G dot transform dot position. Position. Do I got position defined there? No, I didn't find position to here. Then destroy. G. What doesn't I like about that? Position is ambiguous on types vector 2 and vector 3. They're comparing positions here, but they're doing not equal. That shouldn't matter. It's ambiguous. I don't know. Oh. No. I don't know. I'll play with that more next time. Next time. Don't forget. But yeah, they're checking the position to see if they're equals, and if it is, then you go to the next waypoint. We'll go ahead and stop there.